Welcome to Why Are You Getting Ghosted? I am your host, Ramona J. Smith, the 2018 World Champion of Public Speaking. And as you can see, I have about 6 other guests joining me on this webinar called Why Are You Getting Ghosted? So let's start with Daniel. Just give us your name, where you're from, and if you've ever been ghosted or if you've ever ghosted someone.
My name is Daniel Bright. I'm actually from Canada, Brampton, Ontario, which is like right next to Toronto. So have I ever been ghosted? Yes, I have. Have I ever ghosted somebody? Yes, I have.
Shame on you. Let's go to Jermaine. Tell us your name, where you're from, and have you been a ghost or have you been ghosted?
I'm from Galveston, Texas, and when it comes to ghosting, no. And have I been ghosted? No.
Oh, that's a new perspective. Okay,
Hmm.
let's go over to the beautiful Sierras. Tell us your name, where you're from, and have you been the ghost and have you been ghosted? We gotta hold on 1 second, Coop. Let me unmute you. Okay. Got it?
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
You got it?
perfect.
Okay, I'm Sierra. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. No, I've never ghosted anyone, but I have been ghosted as well.
Okay, and moving
Plenty
on
of
to Timothy. Go ahead and unmute your mic and tell us your name, where you're from. Have you been the ghost and have you been ghosted?
All right, my name is Tip, and you know what? When I think about it, I have been ghosted before. I just realized when, but yeah, I've also ghosted.
Okay, and then Donald was here, but I think he popped out. But if he pops back in, we'll have him answer that question as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you are not here live with us, don't worry. We'll definitely come back with another type of online relationship forum. And if you are watching this in a recording, thank you so much for your time and for your participation. We just went over the Instagram results from my followers, and 68% say they have ghosted someone. 32% say they have never ghosted anyone. 76% said yes, they have been ghosted by someone. And 24% said no, they have never been ghosted by someone. However, according to Psychology Today, about half and half of all people in the dating field or in the dating world who have ever been online dating or who have ever dated someone in person, about half of them have been ghosted and about half of them have been the ghosts. So this is very interesting. So let's go ahead and mute our microphones and we'll talk about what is ghosting. It's very simple. If you've never heard of the term ghosting before, it's not something that we do on Halloween. It's not where we all dress up and put on sheets and run around scaring people. It's if you've ever had a connection with someone, whether it was online dating, whether you met them in person, you had a chemistry, a connection with someone with hopes of getting to know them better, and out of nowhere, they disappear. They don't text you, they don't call you, they don't email you, you don't hear anything from them. You may have even been blocked and you just don't know why. And most of the time, we never get a reason why. So that is ghosting, and that is what this webinar is all about. Why are we getting ghosted, or why are we ghosting? Now, this is the part where I want to open up the discussion floor and I want to ask, if you've ever been ghosted, do you remember the story and would you like to share? If you would like to share, please go ahead and virtually raise your hand. And I will put 2 minutes on the clock to give you time to share your story, to give you time to think of your story, to think of how you want to say it. No rush. You will have exactly 2.5 minutes. After those 2.5 minutes are up, I will mute your microphone and go to the next person. So apparently the only one who wants to share her story of being ghosted is our beautiful friend. I call her Coop. Is it okay if we call you Coop? Coop? You can unmute your mic, Coop. Is it okay if we call you
That's
Coop?
fine.
Okay, so Coop, tell us about the time when you got ghosted. Was it, if you feel comfortable, was it a man? Was it a female? What happened?
No, I don't do females, and I'm just going to be honest. That's not my area. That's not my thing. So it was a guy, and it was recent, to be honest with you. It was like towards the end of February. And I went to the gas. Okay, it started. I got off of work. I went to the gas station, and it was a guy, I guess, pumping gas, and he was staring at me. So I proceeded to go in the store. I got what I need to get. As I was coming out, he was still staring. So before I got in the car, he got in the car and he pulled up and he approached me and started talking to me, asking for my number. We had a small conversation. And after that, it was good. But then it was like, he was like, can I see you? Can I see you? Can I see you? Can I see you? And it was such a rush. And I have a 6-year-old daughter and I'm a single mom. So I don't know him per se. And he wanted to see me a lot. And, you know, it's been quarantine and we didn't have so much going on. It's like I couldn't break free to even get a chance to see the individual, but I would talk to him. So when I did get a chance to, I drove to his work. He asked me to come to his work. I drove to his work and I visited him. And then he came over maybe like 2 days after that and we chilled and watched movies. And right after that, I didn't hear from him for like 5 days. Like, I didn't know what happened. I don't know. Like, everything was good. You know, I don't know what happened. So he ended up texting me back like mid-March and was like, oh, hey, yeah, someone stole my phone and I had to wait for the insurance company to send me a new phone. And, oh, by the way, did I leave my hoodie at your house? And I'm like, no. So I was just, and after that, it was like, I didn't hear from him no more. So I don't know what to think. Did he have a girlfriend? Was he in a relationship with someone? Like, I'm lost. I don't know what to say. So that was pretty much the end of it. And he didn't even last a month. It wasn't even a full month this happened. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, does anybody want to respond to that? The fact that the guy claims that he lost his phone, that's why he wasn't trying to talk to her. But in the beginning, he was all, let's see each other, let's see each other. I want to see you, I want to see you, I want to see you. But then all of a sudden he disappeared and gave the lame excuse that something happened to his phone. Anybody want to touch that before we get to Timothy? Are you raising your hand or are you ushering? Jermaine, what?
I'll speak on that because
Okay.
I'm gonna speak upon logic and could the scenario happen the way he explained it. Yes, he could have lost his phone, and yes, it could have taken time for him to get back to you. But this is the thing. Everybody has, and I know this for a fact, when you have a Google phone or Android, all of the phone numbers are stored in the email. So if he wanted to get in contact with you, and if that was very, very important to him, he would have got back in contact with you. Now, you did say that he came over to visit and y'all chill. Now, it depends on what happened and what did not happen on the first time that he chilled because he was very, very adamant about spending time with you. So since he was adamant about spending time with you, whatever time period that he spent with you, he was probably wanting something to happen in that time period. If nothing didn't happen or he didn't get the inkling of something was going to happen in a certain time period, then there's no reason to continue on.
Okay, thank you,
May I
Jermaine, for
speak?
that input. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right, you know, and I decided not to do anything with him just on the strength of it was too flip floppy, you know. So I definitely agree with that.
Okay, so I saw Daniel. You want to give your story? Or you want to chime in on Coop's experience?
Chime in on Coop's experience.
Go for it.
Everything everybody said, including her, has been true so far. The truth of the matter is, the only reason why he actually called because he wanted that hoodie. I don't know what specialness that hoodie had, but homeboy wanted that hoodie. It could have been the hoodie when he graduated with. His daddy gave, you know, it was an important hoodie. I'm telling you. And so, only way to make himself seem okay, so he threw the story in about the insurance and the phone because logically it could make sense. You know what I mean? But no, he just wanted that hoodie.
Okay, Daniel, did you have some input? I saw that your hand was raised.
Yeah, so like it sounded as if there was like he sounds like a guy that catches feels really quick, and then perhaps when he hung out with you, he may have lost those feels for like whatever reason, like not being able to balance his emotions out correctly, and then it got to a point where he was trying to perhaps let you know, but that's just the thing though. Like today, we live in this world where that communication is so messed up, where it's like that honest communication of I'm not interested, right? Versus what he did, like, the excuses he was making potentially, the potential excuses he was making was stopping him from saying, "Listen, I just lost feels early on. That's why I'm not like interested anymore." As opposed to telling you and ghosting you for 5 days, and not being straight up. So that's kind of like how I see that happening sometimes. It's just communication, and sometimes it could be just I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'm going to lie to you to get out of telling you the truth, which is unfortunate because lying and ghosting hurts more, and people don't realize that. That's just a theory. I'm not saying that's the reason, but it's just a theory that I have with that.
I think that's awesome. That was great, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. So Timothy, do you want to share with us your story of when you were ghosted? You can unmute your
Okay.
microphone.
Yeah.
There.
I had to remember I was about 23, and she was fine, like fine, like Tyra Banks at 18 licking ice cream fine, like ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I think, well, we met at the barbershop, and so I was getting my haircut. I still had hair then, so that was kind of funny. But I remember her having, I can't remember if it was a Jag or a Porsche, but we were the same age, and I didn't necessarily know how she was, getting so much money. I never really asked either. I remember going on, I think it was 2 dates, and just the phone calls stopped happening, the texting back stopped happening, the morning text stopped happening, and I actually never knew what happened to her or what was going on. So I never had closure with that. Something I've never thought about until now.
Okay, and you never got closure. You never figured out what happened. You never got the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So that happens with ghosting, and that's one of the reasons why it hurts so bad. So let's transition into the next portion of our webinar, unless somebody wants to touch on that. Let's transition over into why ghosting hurts so bad. But let's hear from Jermaine first.
Okay. He gave a little snippet of what actually transpired. So, when it comes to the good morning text and um, the conversation that was going on, like, can he expound on how long did this scenario occur? So what it sounds like, this person, the female, if she had all of these things, the type of vehicle, did you understand where it is that she worked at, what type of people that she was dealing with before you, and what is it that she's seen in you? She probably put you in this category of, maybe she was hanging out with ballers or something like that. And, that was one of her baller friends' vehicles. You know what I mean? Or what if she was a successful female and then she wanted, somebody, to occupy her time like you were doing? You have a very, very short window with certain type of people. If she's a superficial person, then you got a good 2 weeks to a month to close the deal. If you don't close the deal after in those 2 weeks, you're done. And you said you were younger, so about 20 something, and you seem like to be about my age. And if you wasn't closing the deal within 2 weeks, you already know it's over.
What's funny is, speaking as a person that's ghosted, that's exactly in my mind, that's where I come from when I'm ghosting someone else. You know what I mean? It's like, you didn't attract my attention enough in time. You did something, to throw me off, any little thing. And I believe it was just that. When she came in the shop, I think she was selling scissors or clippers or something, but that was a part of her business. Her mom owned the shop. So I learned enough about her background to know like where it came from. But I just think, like you said, after that 2 weeks, you know what I mean? I ain't have a Porsche, you know what I mean? I had a Laro at the time. So, I think stuff like that add up eventually because, especially in that area of your life, in your early 20s, you do think superficially and you should, YOLO, for real. So you looking for what the next person can do, how they can add on. And, she had a Porsche. Speaking as a ghost, I understood it. Looking back on it, for sure.
That's awesome. Now, let's talk about why it hurts so bad. And I'll send you guys this article after this is over. But it's an article on psychologytoday.com, and it's called Why Ghosting Hurts So Much. And it says here that for many people, ghosting can result in feelings of being disrespected, used, and disposable. Let me mute. Tim, I'm going to mute your mic real quick because I think I hear some background noise. If you have known the person beyond more than a few dates, then it can even be more traumatic. When someone we love and trust disengages from us, it feels like a very deep betrayal. So those are some very strong feeling words. You feel betrayed, you feel used, you feel disposable, like somebody can just pick you up and throw you away like a piece of trash. You feel disrespected. And honestly, I've been ghosted before, and I've been ghosted at times where I thought I was doing the most. I thought I was, I'm in school, I have a job, I have a car, I have this, I have that. Look at Jermaine. I have this, I have that, and I've still got ghosted. And so especially if you're dealing with self-esteem issues, you wonder, like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why is this person just basically coming into my life and coming out of it? And I know I'm a good person, I know I'm a decent person, yet this happened to me. It can make you feel disempowered. It can make you lose hope in relationships. It can make you feel like, well, like in Tim's situation, it can make you feel like you're racking your brain trying to figure out, what did I do wrong? Like, did my breath stink? Was I not fresh under my armpits that day? Did I have a boogie hanging out of my nose? Like, what happened? I see Coop has her hand raised. Let's hear from Coop.
I'm going to go along with what you're saying, but you know what? I had to realize that maybe it's not me. Maybe it's that individual that does not know themselves yet, or didn't take the time to find out, well, maybe I don't like this person yet. I like this person. Like for instance, the guy that I told you, like, he approached me. I didn't approach him. I wasn't even thinking about him. I was going in the store to get what I needed to get. So you wasted my time for what? And that's just how I feel. Or he could have thought I was just a random young female who would just willingly give myself to someone, and I'm just not like that. I've been through a lot in my life, and I have certain standards. And I'm not saying all men are like that, because I know everybody is, different. Everybody's their own individual. But with that, you got to figure out who you are first, and sometimes, like I said, it couldn't be, it's not us. We probably could do everything right. That's the same with me. I'm a single mom. I work my butt off. I'm not on no assistance. I got a car, job. I got all of that. I just don't understand as well. So that's all I wanted to add it.
I think Jermaine has something to contribute. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Yeah, you know what? When it comes to the subject of ghosting, I believe, and I'm going to speak upon logic here, and my understanding of it. When both of you talking about, like, your qualifications, I got this, I got that, you're talking about the esteem of oneself and the qualifications that you bring to the table. Now, when you think about the qualifications that you bring to the table, you have to think about each time you meet a person, and when you meet that person, you have to treat that general meeting as like an interview, because this person, they see something in you. because everything is when you meet a person, everything is visual. So they see something that they like. And what Cooper was saying, the person was, eyeballing her for an extended period of time. So he was visually stimulated. Now he came to the point to where it's like, okay, I'm interested in this person enough to where I want to talk to this person. Interview number one. Now you're talking to the person. Hey, what is your name? What do you do? Do you have free time? Can we get together and discuss this conversation a little bit further? Just like a job interview. Hey, what are your qualifications? Can you do this job? How are you going to work around other people? And are you going to be available from such time to such time? So when you get to that point, either you're going to get the job or you're not going to get the job. So the person is going to want to understand, do you fulfill all the qualifications? So when you have that time to put forth your best effort or your best interview phase, that is the time that you're going to be able to close the deal. You're either going to get the job or you're not. It's not going to be a second interview in a relationship. You know what I mean? Like you have one time, and in that time period, that's what you do. So if the person is not, I'm gonna call it adult enough to let you know, if they're not adult enough to let you know how they feel or what is their take on you, then I don't think you would need to waste your time with that person anyway. Because after 18, you would already know what it is that you want to deal with or put up with or what it is that you're going to accept. So if the person ghosts you, you don't even need to worry about it anyway at that particular point in time.
Thank you so much, Jermaine. And Daniel, I see that you wanted to add something, and then we'll get back to you, Coop.
Just to touch on both Jermaine and Cooper's response in terms of esteem, I think self-esteem plays a huge factor and role into the idea of caring if you're ghosted and caring and not caring if you're ghosted. There came a point in time where when I was ghosted, I would take it so personally, but that was on me, right? Then I started to read more books. I started to attend Toastmasters, develop myself, right? And then like when people ghosted me, I didn't think of it as it's a reflection of me. I organized my thoughts and said, let's look at it as an abundance mindset. If this person's going to ghost me, it just means that they're not, it's not a reflection of me. It's a reflection of them. And it's just simply how it is. And because of that, because I have a high self-esteem, I can now transition and move on to something else, something better, someone that does appreciate me, or some kind of job that does appreciate me and that gives me value. Because at the end of the day, that's we're not going to be like held back by somebody who's going to just ghost. It's disrespectful in its own sense to do that. As opposed to like now, I know I said I ghosted people. That was in the past. Now, if I'm not interested, if I'm not interested, I'm gonna be man up. I'm gonna man up and tell you, listen, I'm not interested. I don't feel that way, right? And just I don't know. That's kind of like how I just feel about that situation. Yeah, we're good. 1 minute. We're good. That's pretty much it.
Okay, Coop, you wanted to respond?
Yeah.
Are you good? Okay, well, Daniel, yeah, absolutely. I mean, high self-esteem and getting to know yourself and understanding that it's not always you. It's not you. It's not your fault. It may have been nothing that you did, and not taking it personally. I think that's great advice. And I also think that takes time. That takes time to build, because the first time it happens to you, oh, I would have died, especially if it's somebody who you really, really, really like. You're like, oh my gosh, I hate myself. I hate life. But, as you reflect and as you become more self-aware, you realize that, hey, this thing may or may not happen. And either way, I'm good, because the person for me is going to stick around. And apparently this person was not for me. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So if we're looking at the agenda, let's go ahead and get Timothy's, sorry, that's my timer, and get Timothy's story about being the ghoster, because he was infamous. And I've been knowing this man for a long time, many, many years. He was infamous for ghosting people. And before you come on, Timothy, let me just tell you how I feel when I get ghosted. I hate the person. They make me angry. I don't understand it. They confuse me. I want somebody to hurt them. And it triggers something in me where, and when I was younger, not now, because now, come on now. But When I was younger, I wanted to stalk the person. I wanted to go to their job, or I wanted to go to the club where we met just to get my answers. So TLP, please tell us why you ghosted, or tell us like the psychology behind it, or kind of just give us a little bit of insight from the ghost's perspective. The floor is yours.
Okay, can do. Yeah, just as a disclaimer, I've been out of dating field for about 4 years. So I ain't been doing nothing or ghosting nobody no time, recently. So it was, youngers and 20s and such. But when probably should have wrote them down. When I think of the reasons in certain people and why I ghosted them, let me explain it to y'all so y'all hear how petty it is. So it's not always you. Well, sometimes it is. Well, one girl had too many roaches. And these are just examples. Somebody had too many roaches. Somebody's breath did stink. Kept a real nasty car. I didn't like that. Disrespect the moms. Too possessive. Damn, I guess sometimes. Anyway, the whole point is it can be petty. You know what I mean? Down to the smallest thing. But it's also, if I had to be honest with myself, a lot of the times because I was too coward to say, I'm no longer interested in you. You know what I mean? I didn't have the cojones to just be honest and keep it real and be like, these are the reasons why we're not compatible. And that might have saved somebody else's relationship. I mean, we've all gotten out of a relationship, realized what we did wrong, and the next time, tried harder. So that might have helped somebody else. But the last time I did ghost was my fiance. I was in a relationship at the time I didn't know how to get out of. And we linked through social media. It was our first time meeting. And I knew from that moment, it was the weirdest thing, but I knew from that moment that it was going to be my fiance. And so then I ghosted. Because I didn't want to be labeled as a cheater or, what if when we get together, you do this to me? You know what I mean? So I wanted to start a complete safe space with this person. And so about 6 months later, when the relationship I was in, we got on each other's nerves enough to where I was like, you know what, I'm done. And I'm about to go be with the one I actually want to be with. And then so I called, which is now my fiance, and we've been together literally every day ever since. So sometimes, it's not always a bad thing. You might be too good for somebody. And then when they really ready for you and they feel like they can give themselves to you and be essential and as much worth as you are to them or how they could see you, then that's when they'll find you. They say, you let something go and if you come back for show, that means it's, so I do believe in that. I absolutely do believe in that. So I've been petty with it, but I've also learned from it and decided I can't do that to a real person, somebody I actually could love.
I think that is so transparent. I think that takes so much strength and self-awareness to be able to share that, especially with three other people who you don't really know very well. I feel like if a ghost actually came back to me and said something like that, I would forgive that person. Like if somebody came back to me and said, hey, look, you were just too good for me, or hey, look, I had a roach crawled on me when I was in your bathroom and it just, it was all bad. Like if somebody came to me and was honest and just told me the honest, harsh truth, I could respect that more than someone just saying nothing. Coop, I see your hand up. What would you like to add?
This question is for Timothy. Were you like afraid to tell people that's why you decided to ghost them? Like, what was your feeling in the inside?
You know what? It definitely depended on the case. As I said, I was petty at times when I could have just, just said what it was. And in those cases, no, I didn't feel bad in the inside because it just, I don't know. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
I said, did you feel afraid to tell the people instead of just ghosting them? You know,
Okay.
like, were you afraid to tell them? That's why you decided to ghost them?
Yeah, certain people, yeah, the ones that, like, if we argued all the time or it was something that was kind of obvious, then I didn't feel bad. I just stopped communication. But in other cases, when I knew I could have said something and I should have said something, yeah, I did. Which always made, for an awkward experience because your area is always small, so you're bound to run into somebody, you know what I mean? Or somebody that knows somebody, so you can never really stay a ghost as much as you try. You can never really stay a ghost. But sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't.
Does anybody else have any questions or any input, Jermaine?
Yeah, his reasoning for ghosting, uh, it- they were really really obvious. Like when he mentioned the uninvited guests. Y'all might call them roaches. I call them uninvited guests. Um, if you are in a person's space and you see more than one uninvited guest, then you start to think, okay, well, these uninvited guests, how long have they been here without being recognized? And I see them, then that means the other person should know that they're here. And if they're here and the other person is not recognizing that they're here, um, that needs to be addressed. Because if I'm going to come to your place and these uninvited guests, I have to spend time with them. I don't want to necessarily spend time with them. That's more so you. And if you want to come to my space, okay, that's cool. But your guests, they need to stay where they're at. When it comes to the vehicle, when you look at a person's vehicle, and it's all in disarray, certain things are understandable if they work a lot and they have work supplies in their vehicle. But it's if they have a cluttered vehicle with snacks or whatever, or different items that you don't necessarily need to be inside of the vehicle on a consistent basis, yeah, I would kind of have a problem with that. When it comes to um hygiene. If they have a hygiene problem, it can be addressed. Certain things could be overlooked. It's like Indian people. They have a hygiene thing, and what if they're smart and they just it's a religious thing. They don't use what you call it, deodorant or whatever. Um, I've been around those types of people. So at the age and stage that he was at, certain things can be addressed and certain things can be looked at. If you're over 20 and you see these signs of certain things, the cleanliness of a person or vehicle or the uninvited guests, you know, those things need to be addressed. And if they're not addressed, this person is not shouldn't expect for you to continue being around them.
I completely understand that. And I want to read a little bit more of this article because it's going to give us the feelings of random people who have been ghosted. So in the future, right now, I hope that none of us will ever ghost anyone ever again. But I want to share some of the feelings that other people felt after being ghosted. And Timothy, this is not to make you feel bad or anything like that. I just want to share the feelings of what happens for the people who will be watching via recording. What happens to the person when you ghost them? How do they feel? One person said, I felt like an idiot, like I had been played a fool. And more so, I felt disrespected. It took the romantics away to have a great connection with a new friend and then all of a sudden never hear from them again. That's painful and really disappointing. No one deserves to be blown off. Someone else said, it still felt a bit like someone had punched me in the gut when it happened. The disregard is insulting. The lack of closure is maddening. You move on, but not before your self-esteem takes a hit. The only worst thing than being broken up with is realizing that someone didn't even consider your worth, that you are worth breaking up with. Going from texting every day and seeing each other a couple of times a week to nothing without the slightest hint of why was a kick in the gut. And finally, someone said ghosting is one of the cruelest forms of torture dating can serve up. Coop, I saw that you had an emoji. I'm not sure if you wanted to put some input in there. And Timothy, I see your hand raised. So, Coop, did you want to say something? And then we'll go to Timothy.
I was just listening to you, and it does take a toll on you because after a while, like we were saying before, you do start to think like, well, dang, what's wrong with me? Like, what did I do? And then it's like, oh my God, am I ever gonna find anyone because this keeps happening, or you just don't know what it is. So yeah, I kind of agree with some of those answers that the people were giving, that because it is hurtful. Because why talk to someone if that's what you're going to do? You might as well, keep it moving to the next person, or keep dealing with the same person that you've been dealing with, if that's who you were dealing with.
Timothy, let's hear from you.
Yeah, just based on those comments and responses, like that sounds like long, like they was in relationships and then got ghosted. Now, I've never done nothing that damn crazy. That sounds like some Tyler Perry movie type stuff. That sounds like real torture to your psyche. And that I can't imagine being with somebody for months on end and meeting their parents and going places, then all of a sudden just disappear off the earth. That shouldn't even be ghosting. That's a whole nother. I thought it was the what we were talking about is like little fly-by-night stuff, 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there. But can I ask the question, have anybody here been ghosted like after a long-term relationship? Oh, I was just asking. That's it.
Oh, well, it seems like the majority of us have not. And I wonder if there's a correlation between ghosting and catfishing, because that sounds more like catfishing. When you're in this relationship with this person and you guys are really getting close and getting connected, because some of us love harder than others. So some of us may fall in love after 3 weeks or 2 weeks, or even love at first sight. Some people believe in that. And so if I think it's love at first sight, and I'm feeling like I love you and we only spend 6 hours together, then you ghost me, that can be the same feeling for some people as if we were dating for 6 months and you disappeared. So I guess it just depends on the person and the investment of the feelings. But let's go ahead and move on to the reasons why people get ghosted. Now, according to the article on Psychology Today, people get ghosted. Well, you know what? Let me hear from you guys first. What are some reasons why you feel like people get ghosted?
Okay. We're gonna go with what Timothy said. Timmy, what Timothy said, like, okay, it's gonna be certain signs, and he mentioned the car, then he mentioned the uninvited guests, and then he mentioned the possessiveness, and then he also mentioned the reason why he ghosted with his current fiance. Now he has he's explained all the traits. So you see a sign that you know that it's going to be an issue for you. And since you know that it's going to be an issue for you, and this person clearly doesn't address whatever it is that you know is going to be an issue for you, i.e. the uninvited guest, or i.e. the car scenario. Now, if those are a deal breaker for you, you have the opportunity as an adult to be like, hey, I'm not going to be able to deal with this, so I'm done. The person, depending on their scenario, they should know the person that they're interested in or talking to over the course of getting to know this person, what it is that they will and kind of won't accept. So when it comes to how how you're presenting yourself to the person and what this person is presenting to you, everything that Timothy said, should have been addressed, and they're going to be wide open. The signs are going to be there. Are you going to put up with the uninvited guests, the messy car, the halitosis? And he did have enough respect for his fiance, and then I'm pretty sure that he came back and told her what he was doing. Because now, hey, you know what? I know you're better than this scenario. I need to back up out of this scenario so I can come at you correctly. Let me fix this. So, I commend him for actually fixing the situation. I actually want to know, how did he actually fix the situation after, that's a pretty good person, because he ghosted and then came back. So he must have came back with it. Let me hear that.
So Timothy, Jermaine wants to hear about how you ghosted your fiance in the beginning, but now you guys are about to get married. How does that happen?
Right. Well, like I said, I can remember the date. So in November is when we met, and it was via social media. Like I said, I just knew. Sometimes it's like, when they say love at first sight and all that stuff, I actually believe in it because I'm living it. I really feel that way. And I broke it off, actually explained the reasons why. And then, like I said, when cowardly me, when I felt like I had enough reason, we was arguing enough let go to get out the relationship, that is exactly what I did. And then so I immediately just called my fiance, and basically they was on vacation and was like, you got a weekend. When I get back, either you're going to be with me or you not. And I said, I'm there. I showed you off the plane. I was right there. No joke. No joke. I just knew. It was just a feeling. It was just a feeling. You know what I mean? And thank God for my fiance, everybody not going to accept you after. I mean, some people might even moved on, and what could I say? What could I do? Just so happened to be still single, so.
Well, Jermaine, there you have it. It seems like honesty was the best policy in this case. But I feel like there are, aside from bugs, of course, nobody wants to deal with bugs and being possessive. There could be a number of reasons about why people get ghosted. But what I want to emphasize is that just because someone ghosts you, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. I like to eat garlic. So maybe I had a couple of cloves of, especially if I'm feeling ill, I'll pop a couple of cloves of garlic, and maybe I'm unaware that my breath smells horribly, but I have a date that evening and he smells the garlic on my breath and that's it. Or maybe it was just something from them that they couldn't tolerate. Like maybe they hated the fact that their ex had red towels in the bathroom because it just bothered them, and then you had a red towel in your bathroom. So I don't know if there's any like legitimate reason for ghosting someone, but I mean, I can understand where people come from, and I know, I feel like it's the easy way out, so I can understand that. Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we move on?
Yeah, some people.
Hold on, let's hear from Timothy, and then we'll hear from Jermaine.
Some people in the first, like I'm thinking of all my ghosting situations, it was definitely the first 2-3 weeks or whatever. And some people will unintentionally give you all of themselves. And I might not want to know all that within the first, you know what I mean? I like, because I'm a little private person myself, I like to pull back a little layers, you know what I mean? Nobody wants to bite directly into the orange. You mean, I want to get the juice, and I shouldn't be able to get the juice in the first 3 weeks. And sometimes that's also intimidating when you're just trying to get to know someone. You're trying to get to know them. You're not trying to necessarily learn everything about them and their whole life and every struggle within the first 2-3 weeks. So sometimes some people would say desperation or whatever it is, just when you're given too much because you want so much, sometimes that has a lot to do with a person being turned off. And you know what I'm saying, not right or wrong, but people feel that way.
You know what, Timothy? I like the juice analogy. I actually believe in the juice of a person. When everybody has their own juice, just like a fruit has juice. You mentioned like an orange, and you peel back the layers. Everybody has juice. And sometimes, just like you said, that juice can be too potent. Just like ginger juice. if you ever had ginger, that right there is potent. You might need to mix it with something like ginger with pineapple juice just to cut the taste. So if somebody's going to give you all of their ginger juice all up front, it may be a little bit too potent. You might want to, add a little bit of water to it, or add, another juice to it to kind of cut it out. That makes sense. And I like that analogy, because I think of that analogy a lot, the juice of a person. Sometimes the juice, like you said, is a little bit too potent, and that will just automatically turn you off. The garlic thing with the popping the garlic, and I don't know if you chew it or you just pop it like a Skittle or something. But a person might not be able to handle garlic, and I understand it, but it's a part of your juice of a person. And if you bring out that too early or too fast, I think it could be very, very difficult, for a person to accept. And I think, we're all adults, and you need to be able to explain to the person, like, hey, your garlic on your breath is a little bit, much for me, but you get time to know a person, you will get to know their habits. I didn't know that about the garlic thing. That Do you chew the garlic? Or, just explain that to them. Do you chew, or you just swallow the garlic?
Well, I bake it in the oven so it gets soft, and then I just chew it. But I did want to point out that both Timothy and Jermaine are Scorpios, and I think that is pretty cool. So yes, and Coop is an Aries. Birthday is coming up. Yeah.
Right.
Coop, when is your birthday?
Actually, it's the 24th. I am a Taurus,
April
but
24th.
if you know the true
It's
zodiac
right on the
sign,
cusp.
I have Aries traits. I
Yeah.
do.
Okay.
Hey, real talk. I'm happy. I'm more happy to a Taurus than an Aries, so it's good.
But I take a Taurus. I'm a true Taurus. So, but yeah, I do have
Y'all
Aries.
cool people.
And like I'm honest, so I can't deny that, because I
I
did
heard
do the
that.
research, and I looked at my Taurus traits, and I looked up Aries traits. I looked up everybody's traits of every zodiac,
Mhm.
and I found out that I have a blend of both, and which is like a hybrid, but I'm quite sure a lot of us have a blend of both. You just got to find out what's yours,
Absolutely. I'm a Capricorn, so
you
let's
know.
not even
But
talk
yes,
about that.
I'm a Taurus. I'll take it.
But let's talk about some reasons why
Right.
people actually ghost. So some people ghost because they avoid their emotional discomfort. Some people ghost because they are not thinking about how the other person feels. Some people ghost because there are fewer social consequences of dropping out of another person's life. If I met you on a dating app and I live in California and you live in Ohio, who gonna check me, boo? For lack of a better term. But for my people who don't understand what the heck I just said, if I ghost you and there's nothing you can do about it, I don't have to face up to the situation. So I can just ghost you and move on to the next person. And finally, the more it happens, the more people become desensitized to it. So people use that to their advantage. Like, this person may have been ghosted before, they'll be fine. So those are some reasons why people ghost. And I love what you said, Tim. I had to write it down when you said initially people give too much because they want so much. And I'm guilty of having done that. I'm guilty of having wanted a relationship, and I'm guilty of having wanted this person to be on the same wavelength as me, and this person to be in the same lane as me. And so I'm like, look, I'm ready to be serious. I'm ready to settle down. Like Coop said, at the time I was a mom, I wouldn't consider myself a single mom, but I was an unwed mother. And I'm serious minded, and you should be too. So why can't you be where I am? And I like the fact that we sometimes we do give too much in the beginning because we want so much. And that's kind of loving like a child, where a child can meet you and know you for 5 minutes and you become their best friend. But in the adult dating world, it doesn't really work like that. So I think we lost Timothy, but he may pop back in. But let me go ahead and go into some tips about moving on after being ghosted. So 5 tips for how to move on after being ghosted. The first tip is to accept reality. A lot of us don't accept reality. If this person was consistent with their communication, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from them in an hour, in a day, in a week, in a month, you have to accept the fact that, my friend, you have been ghosted. So sit with that, deal with that, understand that it happens, and then work from there. No, they did not. 99% of the time, no, they did not get kidnapped. No, they're not in the hospital. No, they are not uh, uh, taking some type of sabbatical in Antarctica. No, they ghosted you. So number one is accept the fact. Number two is do not start to stalk the person. Do not start to stalk the person. So Timothy just rejoined us. I'm giving the 5 tips for moving on after being ghosted. Number one was accept the fact that they're not in the hospital. Accept the fact that they're not on some sabbatical in Antarctica. Accept the fact that they ghosted you. Number two is don't start to stalk the person. Because when we have this connection with someone, and it's in this chemistry and this consistent communication, we want to become a detective. We want to snoop around their mom's page. We want to call their best friend. We want to retrace their steps and see kind of what happens. You want to be on their Instagram page, be on their Facebook page. Don't start to stalk the person. The answer is in the silence. The answer is in the ghost. They're no longer interested in you. So don't start to stalk them. Number 3 is block them. Block them from your social media. Block them from your phone. That way, when they try to pop back in, they won't have access to you. Because if they pop back in, it'll cause confusion. And if they showed you who they are initially, you should believe them. If he ghosted you in the beginning, he probably will do it again. And it's probably because he wasn't interested in the beginning, but maybe he went out and the woman who he was interested in wasn't interested in him. So he doubled back and came back to you. So number 3 is block him so that you don't even have to worry about receiving any type of communication from this person. Number 4, meet someone new. Go date somebody else. This is, and when I get excited, my voice tends to escalate. So I apologize. I'm not yelling at you. I'm not yelling at you. When I get excited, I tend to raise my voice, but that's me personally. So let me dial it down a couple of notches. Meet someone new. This is not the only person in the whole wide world. There are about 7 billion people in the world. So go on and meet somebody new. I know that the phrase, the best way to get over someone is to get under someone. And I don't mean it that way as far as giving your body to anyone, but take your full attention and full focus off of this person and move along to the next person who's going to respect you, appreciate you, and want to spend their time with you. And finally, don't blame yourself, as we talked about earlier, because there is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a bad person. You're not ugly. You're not stupid. You're not less than. You're not unworthy. You deserve someone who's going to treat you the way you want to be treated. So please don't blame yourself. So to recap, and then I'll hear from either Jermaine, Coop, or Timothy if you want to add something to these 5 tips for moving on after being ghosted. But number 5 was accept the reality. He ghosted you. He's not in a hospital. He didn't break his leg. His 114-year-old grandmother didn't just have a birthday party in Iowa. He ghosted you. Number 2, do not start to stalk the person. Don't be on their social media pages. Don't try to call their best friend and get answers. Don't stalk the person. Number 3, block him or her, period. Block them. Number 4, meet someone new, move on. Number 5, don't blame yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. Is there anything that one of our guests would like to add?
I don't want to add anything, but I just want to say the blocking thing, I did do that. But when I block people, like I did block him the first time because it made me upset. You know what I'm saying? But I also gave him a chance to exploit himself. But I've been through so much that I'm not naive to the situation. So therefore, I wanted to hear what he had to say. And I made my decision then. So after I didn't do it, this, and this, and that, I went on ahead and I decided to block him again. And this time I blocked him and then I deleted the number. So therefore, when he tried to call, I won't see anything. I won't see a text message. I won't see a call. I probably won't get a voicemail unless he leaves one, and I highly doubt that he will do that. And I'm just gonna be honest. I'm a blunt individual. I'm just honest.
I understand that. Jermaine, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I have a I have a different approach, and that's probably why I haven't been ghosted, or because I don't ghost anybody. I believe in karma first and foremost.
Hmm.
If that's one person, that's one thing, entity. I would never want to piss karma off, because that mug is gonna come right back. So that's the reason why I don't do it. First, I got to a point long time ago to where it's like, okay, this goes back to what Timothy said. You know, I'm going to give the person the juice, really kind of upfront. Now, if it's too much for you, okay, I think I can realize that in about first 5 minutes of a conversation, if I have a little bit more to offer than what it is that you're willing to give me in return, because I'm gonna give this person a few tests. I'm gonna give you the juice of me and see if you can handle it. First, I'm gonna test your intellect, because if you're not an intellectual person, then that means we're not gonna be able to hold on a conversation. Second, I'm gonna test your ability to go through the different love languages. Now, I'm gonna see what your love language is, and then I'm going to speak to you in that love language. Third, I'm actually going to test your respect level of me, the way it is that you talk, the way it is that you treat others, the way it is that you hold appointment times. After I go through those three things, and it's probably going to take me maybe a few days, or at the most maybe like a week. And if I go through those three things and you show some promising things, then I will continue on. But in the past 12 years for me, nobody has been past a week. So I don't even waste my time. So I've been happy and content, and my self-esteem has been like way up here. I If you can't accept my juice, then you're not worthy of the juice. It's too much.
Too much sauce. Awesome. Now, our time is slowly coming to an end. We have about 15 minutes left. So I want to go through some more strategies and some more tips for the people who are going to be joining us via recording. I want to jump into 5 tips to tell someone you are no longer interested. And if you have any tips that you want to add, go ahead and put them in the chat, but I'll give you these 5. 5 tips to tell someone you are no longer interested. This is an alternative to just ghosting someone. Instead of just never responding, these are 5 things that you can do. Number 1 is be honest and upfront about it. Just lay it all down on the line. Look, your hairstyle reminds me of my grandmother, and I don't like it, so I'm not going to call you anymore. Or your shoes are very dirty. I don't want to see you anymore. So just being honest and upfront about it. Number 2 is using the sandwich method. What is the sandwich method? You say something kind, you say how you really feel, and then you say something kind. Look, yesterday we went out to the wine bar. We had a wonderful, amazing time. You introduced me to some wine that I never ever experienced before, and it was delicious, and I had a great time. However, at this point, I'm not ready to date. I would like to be alone and find myself. But you are an amazing person, and I know that you're going to find the right person someday. So use the sandwich method. Tell the person something that you love, give them the truth, and then end on a high note. Number 3, tell them you just want to be friends. Just tell them, I think you're amazing. I think you're outstanding, but I just want to be your friend. We can be friends. We can hang out. But as far as anything further, I just want to be friends. Number 4, tell them the exact reason why you're no longer interested. For example, we'll use the Timothy situation. When I was in your restroom, a roach crawled up my arm and it made me feel very, very uncomfortable and it made me feel like I was in an unsanitary situation. Or you have 13 children by 6 different women and I can't deal with that. Our date was outstanding, but you have the amount of children that you have doesn't meet the income that you make, and I feel like if we move forward, we both will be broke because you have all these children by all these different women. So I can't do it. So whatever the case may be, tell them exactly the reason why you are no longer interested. And let me go ahead and give you guys this example of this woman who was on Dr. Phil who had been ghosted 8 times. She had been ghosted 8 times. And the reason why she had been ghosted 8 times was because none of the men told her exactly what the problem was. The problem was she had been burnt in a relationship where she was dealing with a man who had a girlfriend. But she said, "Do you have a girlfriend?" He said, "No." But she went over to his house and she saw some girly products in the bathroom. And I've dated a lot of guys who like to wear women's deodorant or who like to use women's conditioner. So she brushed it off. But then she went over again and she saw a woman's name on his calendar and it was circled. And she continued to go over there and see the little signs and ignore the red flags. And ultimately, he did have a girlfriend. So naturally, as a defense mechanism, every person she talked to, she asked them multiple times, "Do you have a girlfriend?" He'd say no. They go on a date. She have a wonderful time. "Do you have a girlfriend?" He'd say no. And then she'll continue to ask these guys, "Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a girlfriend?" And it's like, that's irritating. So that's why she was getting ghosted. So tell them the exact reason why you're no longer interested. And number 5 is do not double back. Do not double back. If you tell someone, "Look, you had some roaches in your house, it made me feel uncomfortable," but then, and you say, "Look, I don't want to call you anymore. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Let's cut it off right here." But then a week later, you had too much Cavassier or too much Patron, and you're texting that person like, "Hey, what you doing? Where you at?" And you double back. Don't do that. So don't double back. So let's recap 5 tips to tell someone you are no longer interested. Be honest and upfront. Be direct. 2, use the sandwich method. 3, tell them you just want to be friends. 4, tell them the exact reason why you're no longer interested. And 5, do not double back. Let's open up the discussion. If someone has something to add, please unmute your microphone and go for it.
I just want to say this real quick about the sandwich method. I would honestly say, for a woman, I can understand, you guys needing the sandwich, but for a man, take the bread off. Just give him the middle. Just tell him straight up what it is. Because you give him an inch, he gonna take a mile. You give him anything to hold on to, and he gonna still keep calling. He gonna try to, your favorite time of night that he would usually come around, and whatever the case, it's going down. So take the bread off for the men. I can tell you that from experience. Don't give them nothing. Just tell them straight up, this is why we can't do it. I wouldn't even go for the "we can be friends" line, because you give them an inch, you take a mile. Just straight up, this is why we can't do it. See you when I see you. That would be my personal advice.
You know what? I have to agree with that. You don't want to let anything linger. Uh, I just had a revelation, and you know what? I think I did go somebody, but it was, how can I say this? It was I ooh I was in a relationship with this person. It was actually like my ex. So ooh, and the ex was she had the title as a wife. So when I left, I was gone. And how can I say this? Going through the different steps that you said, sandwich, like, nah, this was more, the signs were already there, so I don't have to do a sandwich method. It was multiple things. So it's like you already know the negative behavior that you're not going to put up with. And I think being more direct with the person is it's better. You don't leave a opening for, especially with guys, you don't leave that opening. You just shut it down in the story. There's nothing that you and I need to discuss. Um, I personally, me, I'm a very blunt. I don't even want to be your friend because you don't have a value to me, even in friendship. So what would be the point in even communicating? And me per se, I think I'm a bad friend. I'm not going to call you and check up on you. I'm not going to invite you out to events. I'm not going to do none of that. Like, I don't even do that with my friends. I don't even call them to check up on them. I might be a bad friend, but I just don't call anybody. If someone, I'm not going to call you, so you're not going to be in that genre of people that I speak to on a consistent basis. I just look, we're done. That's it. And I think men don't have a problem with being blunt. Like if you get fired, you're fired. You know what I'm saying? You're fired from the job. The person no longer wants you in the space that they're in. It's over with. Okay, cool. I can find another job. That's the way you got to be with an adult, and especially an adult man. So me per se, look, I'm gonna get to the point, and it's over. We're done.
Completely understand that. Now let's talk about, sorry, that's my clock. Let's talk about how to avoid being ghosted. How do you avoid this from happening to you? Because it hurts so bad. And we talked about all these feelings of betrayal and disrespect and feeling like you got kicked in the gut and feeling like an idiot. How can you avoid being ghosted altogether? My friends, you can't. And I think we all, as most of us, being mature adults who are watching this, and most of us who with experience with dating, you can't avoid it because you can't control other people. However, you can understand that it may happen to you and that it usually has nothing to do with you. So it's what our friend Daniel was talking about earlier. You have to build up that self-esteem and build up that self-awareness to know that it's life. It may or may not happen. And if it does, it's okay. It's not your fault in most cases, and don't take it personally. It's like a car accident. You could be the best driver in the whole world, never had any points in your license, never drank and drove, and 10 and 2 and all that stuff, but some random person smashes into the back of you, you know? And then your insurance will be that self-worth, that self-esteem, and that self-awareness of knowing that it's not your fault. Next, stop putting all of your eggs in one basket. Ladies, I only can speak from a female perspective, a female heterosexual perspective. Sometimes when we are at a place in our lives where we have our goals, we have our vision, we know exactly where we want to be, and we are on that path, and we meet the guy who checks all those boxes. Oh my goodness, he has the career, he has the car, he has the money, he does this, he does that. And we put all our eggs into one basket and we say, you know what? I know he's the one, I'm cutting everybody off. And then he cuts us off. Like, that hurts. So stop putting all your eggs in one basket and date multiple people. That's what dating is. You are not married until you go before God and you put the ring on the finger and take the vows. You have the freedom. I'm not saying sleep with everyone. I'm not saying not sleep with everyone. I'm not saying promiscuity is a bad thing. If you want to get a little taste, a little golden corral here and there, ain't nothing wrong with that. And if you don't, it's nothing wrong with that either. What I'm saying is talk to multiple guys, get to know several guys at one time. That way, if one falls off, it's okay. I don't talk to Chucky anymore, but you know what? Larry was cool. Oh, Larry disappeared. All right, Mark is great. Okay, Mark is gone. Well, Jermaine gonna take me out Thursday. Okay, Jermaine is gone. Well, you know what? Me and Timothy got a date on Wednesday. Okay, so stop putting all your eggs in one basket and date multiple men. It doesn't make you a whore, whether you're sleeping with them, whether you're dating. It doesn't make you anything. It makes you a person who's not married and a person that's dating. Okay? Next, be friends first. Like Timothy said, don't give your all on the first date. He doesn't want to know that you get yeast infections every week. He doesn't want to know about your cesarean scar. She doesn't want to know about your circumcision, or lack thereof. Don't give all the important information out on the first date. Nobody wants to hear about how your daddy was a crackhead and your mom was an alcoholic and you used to be addicted to crystal meth on the first date, okay? Let's not do that on the first date, okay? Be friends first. Don't jump head first into the first date. Take it slow, get to know the person, and you guys can build a respect for each other. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But don't dive in head first. Next, have fun. Just have fun and don't overthink it. Just have fun and don't overthink it. If you guys are going bowling, just go bowling. Don't say, I'm bowling with my future husband. No, you're not. Or I'm bowling with my future wife. No, you're not. Okay? You just enjoy the ride. Just have some fun. And finally, be confident within yourself and know that the bad eggs will fall away. They'll weed themselves out, right? I love the phrase, rejection is sometimes protection. Rejection is sometimes perfection. And let's use Timothy as an example. When he first met his fiance, it was the whole ghost thing, right? And that was rejection. So I'm sure the fiance was like, okay, well, your loss, not mine. And Timothy had to rethink some things. And then when Timothy did that readjustment and that reevaluation, he came back and said, look, I love you. I want to be with you. Boom. And now they're about to get married. So the rejection is the protection. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're an awful person. It just means that that person is not ready, and maybe they were protecting you from whatever issues that they may or may have not had. Does anybody want to add anything before we move on to the final strategies of this webinar? Jermaine.
I have to, you know what, when you talk about the strategy when it comes to dating multiple people, this has always been my theory, and this scenario is actually it has worked for me. When I talk about, you give yourself, you are a whole person, so you have 100% of yourself. When you date multiple people, you cannot continuously give 100% of yourself to each individual. It is impossible. You're only going to be able to give a part of yourself to each individual because you're trying to get to know everybody on a different level. You have work, you have school, you have everything else that you're trying to accomplish in life while you're dating multiple people. That is a strategy for disaster, in my opinion. So what has worked for me is I'm able to give this one individual, 100% of my time, 100% of my thinking, and 100% of my presence, because it's not obligated to anybody else. Now, this person gets 100% of me, and I'm expecting 100% of this person in return. Although I shouldn't expect 100%, that's what I'm giving, and that's what I do expect to receive in return. If that person is not able to match what it is that I'm giving, i.e. my time, then I would know whether I need to continue on with this person. If this person has a busy schedule with different people that they're interested in, well, let me help you make the choice and eliminate myself from the picture. That way, you have a short amount of people or limited amount of choices that you can choose from. Go choose those other people. By all means, go ahead, because I'm going to eliminate myself from your pool of people that you're trying to choose from. I think that is a better scenario, because if I wasn't put at the top, then I don't need to be in sequence with anybody else, because I feel like, I should be top shelf. And if you don't feel like I'm top shelf, then you know what? Cool. Bye. Go deal with them other people. You just lost out. End of story. That's just me, in my opinion.
Does anybody want to add to that? The fact that Jermaine feels like you should not date multiple people because you can't give someone your full attention. Does anybody want to add anything to that? Or
I agree. Mm-hmm. I definitely agree, because your mind is focused on so many different things that you can't focus on that one individual. And if you're looking for a specific thing and you're dating multiple people, how are you ever going to focus on that specific individual or yourself? So I definitely agree with him. Yep.
I agree and slightly disagree. I think you know, when you get to the point which y'all are talking about, you know, then you get there and then you start figuring out, you know, the relationship and get to know a person. But you can't even get there if you don't start initially, you know what I mean, dating. And it's nothing wrong if you meet somebody, you know what I'm saying, on Monday, and then you meet somebody on Wednesday, you know, it's not really, you're not giving all of your time away, you know what I mean? But the more, as the conversation goes, the more you get to know a person, you know what I'm saying, you end up chewing the meat and spitting out the bones, you know what I mean? But if you keep going on dates with skeletons, then you're gonna keep end up going on dates and not get nowhere. But eventually you find somebody with enough meat, enough attraction to where you will just focus on them. But I think, you know, just as far as advice given to other people, there's nothing wrong with initially getting to know a few people at a time. But, you know, once your energy start going towards a certain direction, then that's when you start, you know, letting go of everybody else. But I wouldn't necessarily say you shouldn't date multiple people.
It's not a bad
Where the
thing
hoes
dating
go?
multiple people. I don't know. She probably went to the bathroom.
You all did, right.
Here, guys.
It's my
No,
third cup of coffee, so I done win twice.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Hey,
I'm
when,
here, guys.
when your birthday, Tim?
Huh?
When
The
your birthday?
8th, November 8th.
Okay, I'm the 12th.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so the true Scorpio is, you know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah, we're
different.
right in the middle. Yeah.
Right. The real one.
Well, thank you all for your input. Let's go ahead and mute our mics, and I'll go to the last point, which is how to stop ghosting forever. How to never, ever, ever be a ghost ever again. Number one is know what you're looking for. Don't lower your standards or compromise your deal breakers. So if you know that you're looking for a particular thing, but then you go after something that differs from that particular image that you have in your mind, it might cause you to ghost. Next, remember that temporary hurt leads to timeless help. Temporarily hurting someone's feelings by saying, look, I'm no longer interested in you because of XYZ, will ultimately lead to helping that person discover why you didn't like them and helping that person discover things that maybe they should be mindful of in the future. Next is be upfront with your intentions. If you want to only hook up with someone, just tell them that. If you want to just, if you're only looking for friends, be upfront and just say that. If you only want a one night stand, unfortunately, tell that person, give the person the option to choose whether they want to continue dealing with you or whether they want to take on the risk or not. Next is observe and check behavior. If someone is coming on too strong, then make sure you tell them to back off. If someone is saying, look, you know, I know we've only been knowing each other for a week, but I feel like you're my husband and I want to marry you tomorrow. Instead of going along with it like some men do and saying, oh my goodness, God told me the same thing. No, he didn't. And kind of leading her on, observe the behavior and check it. Like, look, I understand that's how you feel. I understand that you may have gotten that revelation from God or whoever your divine being is, but I don't feel the same way. So observe and check that behavior. And finally, understand that it's okay to not be compatible with everyone. So you can tell someone it was nice meeting you, but I'm no longer interested. Or it was nice dating you and talking to you, but I know that you're not the one for me. I wish you the best in the future. So those are 5 ways to stop ghosting forever. Know what you're looking for and don't lower your standards or compromise your deal breakers. Understand that temporary hurt leads to timeless help. Be upfront with your true intentions. Observe and check irregular behavior, and understanding that it's okay to not be compatible with everyone. At this point, I'll open it up to final thoughts and we will close. Anybody have any final thoughts or takeaways for the people who will be watching this via recording?
I just want to add, always be upfront, be honest. It will be much more respected than liked.
Okay, I would like to it would be much more respected and like to be upfront and honest. As an adult, you should be able to discern um, genuine genuineness. You should be able to discern whether or not a person has respect for what it is that you're offering and respect for you and your time. So um, being upfront with the person, hey, you know what, whatever it is that you're bringing, I don't want it, or I'm not going to be interested in it, or it's not going to work for me. I think as an adult, um, you, people are able to accept that. Now, I think in one scenario, what Timothy was speaking of earlier, there may come a time, and I don't know how to avoid this, but there may come a time where the person that you're dealing with may be confrontational, and you might have to utilize a different strategy. So, I, me, I, 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 I don't know how to explain how to get out of that scenario, but in the case of being very, very direct with the person, I think you should be very, very direct and straightforward. Now, there are other strategies that you may be able to utilize when the person may be um, confrontational or may not take what it is that you said um, for face value. So when it comes to that scenario, I don't know how to speak upon that. But being very, very direct and straightforward is what you should be with the person. When it comes to, like I said, confrontational people who don't like to accept no, or they're not interested, you just have to pick a different strategy.
And okay. And these are my final thoughts. This is what you chasing after. This is what you desperate for. This is not a soul or an entity. Let it go. If that nigga show up as a ghost, adios. That's all I gotta say.
I like that. If they show up as a ghost, adios. If they show up as a ghost, adios. Well, I want to thank each and every one who joined us this afternoon for the Why Are You Getting Ghosted webinar. Thank you for your input. Thank you for your time. I guarantee this is going to add value to someone's life. Someone who has been ghosted in the past, someone who may get ghosted in the future, someone who may be a ghost right now. I guarantee the things that we talked about today is going to add value into the lives of all who receive it. Thank you so much for giving us your testimonies. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and being transparent on this platform. I love you all to pieces, and we're going to end the recording right now. So thank you all so much for your time. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.